The river that cut through Okuta Valley was said to remember faces. It flowed dark and slow, like oil beneath the moonlight, curling around the stones with the patience of an old spirit. Elders said if you looked too long into its waters, you might see the reflection of someone who was not there, someone you had loved, or lost, or betrayed. So, the people of Okuta did not look into the river after sunset. They fetched water before dusk, and when the frogs began to sing, they stayed away. On the night the stranger arrived, the river was unusually restless. The wind carried its scent, wet, earthy, and faintly metallic, like rain mixed with iron. In the distance, thunder rolled without lightning. The first to see him was Ayo, the palm wine tapper's daughter. She was returning from the market, balancing a basket of roasted maize on her head. The sun had died behind the red hills, and the moon hung like a pale drum in the sky. At the bend in the road, a young man stood beneath the udala tree, tall and lean, his face half hidden by the shadows. He wore a travel-stained cloak and carried a carved walking stick. His eyes caught the moonlight, not bright like fire, but soft like smoke. "Good evening, sister," he said, his voice quiet, measured, with an accent that did not belong to Okuta or any nearby village. "Can you tell me where I might find a place to rest?" Ayo studied him carefully. There was something in the way he stood, too calm, too still, as if he were listening to something far away. "You are far from home," she said. "We don't often see strangers here." He smiled faintly. "Then perhaps the river carried me where I must go." Something about the way he said it made Ayo shiver. Still, she pointed toward the cluster of huts beyond the baobab grove. "You can ask for Mama Lami's compound. She welcomes travelers. Tell her Ayo sent you." The stranger nodded, bowed slightly, and began walking. But as he passed, she caught the scent of something. Not sweat or dust or the road, but rain on burnt ground. She turned to watch him go, but when she blinked, he was already gone. By the time the stranger reached Mama Lami's compound, the night had thickened. The old woman was sitting by the fire, stirring a pot of soup. Her eyes, sharp despite her years, studied him as he approached. "Who are you, and what do you seek in Okuta?" she asked. "My name is Nuru. I am a traveler, looking for work or peace, if there's any left in this world." She sniffed. "Peace doesn't come to those who look for it. Sit then, eat before you faint in my yard." Nuru thanked her and sat by the fire. The flames danced across his face, revealing a quiet kind of sorrow, the kind that doesn't cry out loud. "You look like a man who has outrun something," Mama Lami said. Nuru looked into the fire. "Or perhaps something that never stops walking." She squinted at him, but before she could ask more, the door flap opened and Ayo stepped in, bringing the smell of roasted maize and the coolness of night. "Nuru," Mama Lami said, nodding towards her, "this is Ayo, my late sister's child. You owe her thanks. She was the one who sent you here." Nuru rose slightly, bowing his head. "Then I owe her more than thanks." Ayo smiled shyly. "You're welcome, traveler. Okuta doesn't see many like you." And though neither of them knew it, the air between them stirred, subtle, invisible, like the faint tremor of a drumbeat before a storm. The next morning, Nuru woke early and went to the river. Mist coiled over its surface, and the birds called from the trees in shrill bursts. He knelt by the bank, cupped the water in his hands, and whispered something under his breath. Words that did not belong to this place. When he looked up, he saw his reflection wavering in the current. For a heartbeat, another face flickered beside his, a woman's, pale and silent. Then it was gone. Ayo's voice startled him. "You shouldn't look into the river at this hour," she said.
approaching with her water pot balanced on her hip. He turned. "Why not?" "Because the river keeps secrets," she said, "and it doesn't like strangers." He smiled faintly. "Then it and I are alike." She set her pot down beside him. "You speak in riddles, traveler. What is it you truly seek in Okuta?" He hesitated, then said, "Forgiveness." "For what?" He looked at her, and his eyes, dark, deep, almost sorrowful, met hers. "For a kiss I should never have given." Ayo laughed softly, though uneasily. "You sound like a man from a tale told to frighten children." "Perhaps," he murmured, "but the tale is not over yet." That evening, word spread quickly through the village. The stranger had strength in his hands and quiet wisdom in his voice. He helped the blacksmith fix a broken anvil, aided the farmers with their irrigation trench, and could read the weather from the shape of the clouds. Yet there was one thing about him that unsettled everyone. No one ever saw him eat or drink after sunset, though he joined them by the fire each night. Ayo found herself drawn to him, against her better sense. There was something heavy about Noru, as though he carried the weight of unseen chains. And yet, when he smiled, the whole world seemed briefly lighter. Days passed into weeks. The rains came late that season, and the air grew restless. On the night of the festival of first harvest, when the moon hung full and the drums of celebration shook the air, Ayo found herself beside Nuru again. They danced among the villagers, laughter rising like smoke. When the drumming slowed, Nuru led her toward the edge of the river, where fireflies blinked like scattered embers. The night smelt of palm wine, roasted yam and rain on dust. The sound of the drums faded behind them. "Ayo," Nuru said softly, "have you ever wondered what it means to be remembered?" She looked at him, confused. "Everyone wishes to be remembered." He nodded. "Yes, but what if the memory itself is the cause?" Before she could answer, he reached out and brushed a strand of hair from her face. The air thickened, the river sighed, the moon trembled behind the clouds. And then, he kissed her. It was gentle, brief, like the closing of a door. But as their lips met, the night seemed to shudder. The frogs stopped singing. The fireflies blinked out. Ayo drew back, breathless. What was that?" Nuru stepped away, his face pale. "I told you," he whispered. "The tale is not over." He turned toward the river. His reflection rippled, and this time it wasn't his alone. A woman's face stared back at him from the water, her eyes wide, her lips moving soundlessly. Ayo gasped. "Who is she?" "The last girl I kissed," Nuru said quietly. The river's surface broke with a hiss. A shape began to rise. Pale hands, long hair, eyes that glowed like the reflection of the moon. Ayo stumbled back, heart hammering. "Nuru, what have you done?" He didn't answer. His gaze was fixed on the figure rising from the water. A woman half made of mist, half of memory. Her voice a whisper that chilled the air. "Nuru," she breathed, "you cannot outrun me." The drums in the distance fell silent, the wind died, and the river began to whisper their names. The sky over Okuta Valley had taken on that bruised violet color that comes before full night. The air smelt of wood smoke and roasted yam. Children's laughter drifted across the fields like ripples in water. The drums had begun again, slow, then quick, then slow, the heartbeat of the village. Ayo walked the path that led toward the river, her basket empty now, her shawl drawn tight. She should have gone home before the first drum beat, but something inside her refused to turn back. The image of the traveler haunted her, the one called Nuru, who had appeared 3 nights ago beneath the Udala tree, his eyes holding both sorrow and warmth. She reached the small rise where the moonlight fell silver on the grass. Below her, the river breathed in mist. And there he was, kneeling beside it, head bowed, the staff laid beside him like a tired companion. For a long while, she watched him. The stillness around him felt alive, as if the air itself bent to listen. Then softly she said, "Traveler, you will catch your death sitting by water at night." Nuru did not turn at once. His voice came quiet, like someone speaking to a memory. "Some deaths are already caught, and waiting only for the body to notice." Ayo frowned. "You speak like a man who has lost too much." He looked up then. The moon reflected in his eyes. "And you, like one who fears to lose what she never owned." Ayo stepped closer, curiosity glowing brighter than caution. "Tell me, traveler, what is it you seek in our valley?" Nuru's lips curved, not in mockery, but in something sadder. Peace or forgiveness. But perhaps they are the same. She studied him. He was not like the men of Okuta. No boasting, no laughter chasing his words. There was a silence around him, a listening kind, the kind that draws secrets from the mouth of even the careful. "What did you do that needs forgiving?" she asked. He hesitated, eyes dropping to the water. "I loved wrongly. I kissed someone whose spirit was not meant for mine. The river took her, and since that night, wherever I go, I feel her waiting." Ayo shivered, though the air was warm. "Waiting?" He nodded. "Between breaths, between moments, in the places water touches the earth. Sometimes she speaks when I dream, sometimes when I am awake." A frog croaked nearby. Ripples spread across the surface. The mist shifted, like something breathing. Ayo whispered, "The river remembers, they say, but not all memories should be kept." Nuru's eyes lifted to hers. "Perhaps not, yet it keeps them anyway." They stood there in silence, the sound of the water like whispering cloth. Then a gust of wind carried the scent of smoke and song from the village. Ayo smiled faintly. "Tonight is the moon feast. Mama Lami says no one should wander near the river while the drums call. You should come, eat, rest. There's warmth in the firelight, even for wanderers." Nuru's face softened, uncertain. "Would your people welcome a man who carries bad luck?" "Better a stranger by the fire than a ghost by the water," she said, and turned back toward the path. He followed. The village square glowed with torches. Women danced in circles, their wapas swirling like flames. Men clapped and drummed. Children ran barefoot, faces shining with sweat and laughter. Ayo led Nuru to the side where the elders sat watching. Mama Lami looked up sharply, eyes narrowing. "Eh? Ayo, who is that with you?" "A traveler, Auntie Ayo," she said quickly. "He's hungry." Mama Lami's gaze measured Nuru from head to toe. A traveler, with eyes like morning. Sit then, stranger, but keep your shadow outside my soup pot." A few people chuckled nervously, but Nuru bowed respectfully. "I thank you, mother. My shadow has learnt manners." That made her laugh in spite of herself. She handed him a calabash of yam porridge. He ate slowly, each spoonful as though he had forgotten the taste of food. Around them the drumming rose. The moon hung huge above the baobab, watching. Ayo found herself glancing at him often, wondering what story lay behind those eyes. Later, as the dancers spun faster, she saw him watching the fire, not with joy, but with ache. Then his expression changed. He stiffened, his gaze fixed beyond the flames. Ayo followed it and froze. Across the fire, standing half in shadow, was a woman no one else seemed to see. She was tall, her skin faintly golden, her hair loose like river weed, her eyes shimmered faint blue. Ayo's breath caught. The woman's gaze was fixed on Nuru. The drum beat slowed, though no one had touched the drums. The flames dimmed, the laughter faded, as if swallowed by water. Nuru whispered, "Sefu." The name trembled from his mouth like a forbidden prayer. The woman's lips moved, but no sound came, only the faint hiss of the river echoing through the air. Then as swiftly as she had appeared, she was gone. The drums resumed as if nothing had happened. People danced, unaware, but Nuru sat unmoving, eyes wet with something deeper than tears. Ayo touched his arm. Who was she? He swallowed hard. The last girl I kissed.
That night, Ayo couldn't sleep. The drums had died down, but her thoughts refused to rest. She lay on her mat, staring at the thatched ceiling, hearing again the name he had spoken, Sefu. Outside, a wind stirred the trees. The river murmured faintly in the distance. She rose, wrapped her shawl, and stepped into the night. The moon was full, washing the world in silver. The path to the river glowed faintly, and there, halfway down, she saw footprints, wet footprints, leading away from the water, glistening under moonlight, fading into the dry dust near her feet. Her heart pounded. She knelt, touched the damp marks. They were cold, like touching the skin of the dead. Suddenly, a whisper brushed her ear. "Do not follow." She turned sharply. No one there. Only the rustling of reeds and the slow sound of flowing water. But curiosity is a dangerous spirit, and Ayo had always listened to the wrong spirits. She followed. The river mist thickened as she drew close. The air grew heavy, filled with a scent like rain before it falls. The surface of the water rippled, though there was no wind. And then, something shimmered. The same woman, the golden-skinned spirit, rose again from the water's edge. This time, her face was clearer, beautiful, sorrowful, unearthly. Ayo's voice trembled. "Who are you?" The spirit's eyes turned toward her, full of ancient grief. She said, her voice like the sound of deep water, "He loved me once, but love turned to loss, and loss to curse. I wait until he sets me free." Ayo stepped back. You mean Nuru?" "Yes," she said. "Tell him the river remembers. Tell him the kiss is not yet broken." Before Ayo could speak, the spirit dissolved into mist. A bird screeched in the darkness. The air seemed to exhale. Ayo ran. When dawn came, Nuru was already by the water again. His cloak clung with dew. His eyes were hollow with sleeplessness. Ayo approached breathless, her shawl damp with mist. "I saw her," she said. "Where?" "Last night. She spoke your name. She said the kiss is not yet broken." He closed his eyes, face tightening. "Then it has begun." "What has?" He looked toward the river, where mist curled like living breath. "The curse wakes when the moon and heart remember together, and whoever hears her voice becomes part of the remembering." Ayo frowned. "You speak in riddles. Tell me the truth." He hesitated, then said softly, "Long ago, before I learnt what love could destroy, I promised Sefu I would never leave her side. But I broke that promise, and on the night I kissed her goodbye, the river took her, claiming the vow itself. It bound her spirit to my breath. Since then, every woman I meet feels her shadow near. None survive it." Ayo's heart thudded. "And yet, you came here." I hoped the river might forgive me if I walked its length. But perhaps forgiveness is only a story we tell to make the ending gentle." Ayo reached for his hand, trembling. "Then, let me help you." Nuru shook his head. "If you stay, the river will take you too." "I have already seen her," Ayo said.
The river knows me now. Silence. Then, softly, the wind carried a sound, the faint cry of a woman, deep beneath the water, calling a name. Nuru's eyes widened. She calls again. He stood staring at the dark current. It will end only when I go where she waits. Ayo steps before him. No, there must be another way. He smiled, the first true smile he had seen on him. Sad, tender, unafraid. Perhaps, but the river's law is older than hope. He walked toward the edge, the mist rising around him. Ayo cried out, grabbed his arm, and in that moment, the mist flared like fire. A second figure rose beside them, the spirit again, but burning with light, her eyes weeping blue flame. The river roared. Ayo's scream was swallowed by the sound. And then, silence. The next morning, the villagers found the footprints again, 2 sets this time, leading down to the water, ending where the river turned black. Neither Nuru nor Ayo returned that day. Mama Lami stood by the bank, her eyes old with knowing. She whispered, "The river remembers, and so must we." She turned toward the hills, where the first light of dawn broke through the mist.
The first cry of a hornbill broke the silence of dawn. Mist lay low over Ukuta Valley, hugging the red hills like white cloth laid over a sleeping body. The drums had long gone quiet, and only the slow voice of the river moved beneath the morning sky. Mama Lami stood on the river bank, her wrapper damp at the edges, her eyes swollen from a sleepless night. 2 sets of footprints ended before her, one broad, one slender, dissolving into the water. The villagers had whispered through the night, saying the river had taken another, that the cause of the traveler had found a new heart to swallow. But Mama Lami, whose ears had heard stories older than the stones, knew this was not a thing of simple drowning. She held a calabash in her hand, inside it palm oil, a feather, and a single white kola nut, offerings, peace tokens, old ways of speaking to spirits when words between worlds grow thin. She knelt by the edge and murmured, "River, you who carry memory in your belly, take this and give me back my child. Take my offering and release her shadow." The river said nothing, only mist rolled upward, coiling like the spirit's sigh. Mama Lami waited until her knees ached, but no answer came. Only far across the current, she thought she heard faint laughter, like the sound of water running over stones. She whispered a prayer, stood, and turned back toward the village, heavy with the knowing that not all love stories end in daylight.
Deep beneath the river's skin, Nuru woke. His body floated, weightless yet burning. His eyes opened to a world of blue shadow and drifting light. Around him, fish moved like threads of memory, their scales glinting faint gold. The water was not cold, it pulsed with warmth, alive, breathing like the chest of something enormous. He gasped, but his lungs filled not with water, but with sound, the echo of a woman's voice. "Nuru!" He turned. There she was, Sefo, not mist now, not a ghostly waver, but whole. Her bronze skin glowed softly, her hair fanned like silk in the current. She wore the same blue-silver wrap she had died in. Her eyes, though, held no anger this time, only a vast, aching sadness. "You came back," she said. Her voice rippled through the water like music played on a calabash drum. "I never left you," Nuru said. "Even when I walked under sun and dust, you followed." Her eyes darkened. "Followed? I was bound. The river made me part of itself because of the promise you broke." He reached for her, but his fingers passed through water. Then release me now, release both of us. Sefo's gaze softened. I cannot free what you still carry in your heart. He frowned. What do I still carry? She raised her hand and the water shimmered. Before them appeared an image, Ayo standing by the riverbank, her red shawl fluttering, calling his name. Sefo's expression broke. Another girl, another heart. The river shows me every face you turn to, every time you whisper a promise not meant for me. Nuru's voice trembled. Ayo was innocent. She only wanted to help. She followed because she cared, as I once did. The water darkened around them. Shadows gathered. Tell me, Nuru, how many hearts must drown before yours learn silence? He shut his eyes. Enough, enough, Sefo. She looked at him for a long moment, then said, Then prove it. Above the water, Ayo walked gasping, lying on wet sand. Her shawl was gone. Her wrapper clung heavy to her skin. All around her was fog, endless, silver white. The river whispered behind her. Ahead stretched what looked like land, but not land she knew. Ships moved within the mist, faint, human, some weeping softly, others murmuring songs in forgotten tongues. She rose to her knees, trembling. Where am I? A voice answered, Between. Ayo turned. There stood a tall veiled woman, flowing white blue cloth swirling like mist, bare feet leaving no print. Beneath the veil, her eyes glowed faintly, calm as moonlight on still water. Who are you? Ayo asked. The river's memory, said the woman. You walk in the place where love and regret weigh the same. Ayo looked around, frightened. Where's Nuru? Below, the woman said. In the deep, facing what he buried. Ayo stepped forward. Then I must find him. The veiled woman's voice deepened. If you go, you must give something the river can keep. Ayo said, What does it want? Your memory of love, all of it. Ayo hesitated. If I forget love, what remains of me? Peace or emptiness? They are cousins, said the woman. Ayo's hand went to her chest, where her heart still thudded wildly. Then I will risk remembering. Without waiting for answer, she stepped into the water. Below, the river glowed as she descended. The lights bent around her body. Her hair flowed upward like flame. And then she saw them, Nuru and Sefu, locked in stillness, eyes on each other. Ayo called his name, her voice echoing through the current. Nuru turned, eyes wide. Ayo, no, you shouldn't have come. Sefu's gaze darkened. You brought another heart here. Ayo swam closer. I came to end this. You both are trapped by what's past. Sefu's voice was like thunder muffled by water. The past does not end, child. It circles like the river itself. Ayo reached for Nuru's hand. Then let it circle without us. Sefu's eyes filled with tears that glowed blue as they fell. You speak boldly for one who does not know what love demands. Love demands truth and forgiveness, Ayo said. Sefu looked from Ayo to Nuru, and her voice softened. Forgiveness. Yes, but who forgives whom? For a long moment, no one spoke. The current hummed softly, carrying fragments of memory, laughter, the sound of a flute, the scent of rain-soaked earth. Then Nuru whispered, Sefu, I wronged you. I broke a vow made under moonlight, and the river took you because I ran from its judgment. But Ayo is not my sin. She is my chance to face it. Sefu closed his eyes. Then prove it, Nuru. Free me by letting me go. He stepped closer, his voice steady. I loved you, Sefu. I always will. But you belong to the river now. I must return to the living. Her expression trembled, part sorrow, part release. Say it then. Say goodbye. Nuru took a deep breath. Goodbye, my love. Sefu smiled faintly, tears drifting upward like stars rising. At last. Her body began to dissolve, first her hair, then her hands, then her eyes, until all that remained was light. It flowed through the water, spiraling upward toward the surface. The current lifted Ayo and Nuru together, carrying them up, until their heads broke through into air. They gasped, coughing, clutching each other beneath the morning sun. By the time the villagers reached the river bank again, they found Ayo lying half-conscious beside Nuru, the mist thinning in the dawn. Mama Lami rushed forward, crying out, Ayo, oh child, what have you done? Ayo opened her eyes slowly. She's gone, aunts. The river has let her rest. Mama Lami looked at Nuru. His face was pale, exhausted but peaceful. He whispered hoarsely, the curse is broken. The river remembers, but no longer holds her. The villagers helped them back to the compound. That night, no drums played, only the sound of crickets and the sigh of the river. Weeks passed. The valley bloomed brighter that season. The rains came gently. The millet grew tall, and the river flowed clear for the first time in years. Sometimes, at dusk, Ayo would walk to the bank and sit in silence. Nuru would join her, laying his stuff across his knees. Once, she asked him, "Do you think she forgave you?" He smiled faintly. "I think she forgave herself." Ayo nodded. "Then, we are both free." They sat watching the current until the moon rose, casting silver over the water that once devoured them. Some nights, when the wind blew just right, they heard a faint hum in the river, a woman's song, peaceful, at last.